Hello everyone, and welcome back to the homestead. So because winter does not seem to want to let go, I decided to make my homemade lasagna soup with homemade ricotta slash farmer's cheese and of course homemade Hawaiian rolls. All of those were nice and warm, so they definitely heated up the house nicely as the oven kind of ran through all of this. To make the farmer's cheese, though, very easy. Gallon and a half of milk. You can use cow's milk, goat's milk, sheep milk if you have it. You're going to heat it up to 195 degrees. And then once you reach the 195 degrees, stirring it the entire time to keep your milk from scalding. You're going to heat it low. So I usually do about a medium low. Then once you reach your temperature, you'll turn your heat off, not remove it from the heat, but just turn your heat off. And then you're going to stir in 3/4 of a cup of apple cider vinegar. And you'll notice as soon as you stir that apple cider vinegar in and start to stir it around, that the curds automatically start to separate from the whey. And all you're going to do is put a top on and set a timer for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, you'll come back, and as you can see, your curds are separated from your whey beautifully. And then you just strain them out. Now, I strain mine through a colander into a bowl on my countertop because, I have been known to pour my whey accidentally down the drain. So I started shifting to doing this on the countertop to ensure I'd have a bowl because, well, heavens, I hope I don't ever just pour a colander out on the countertop. So all you're going to do is just kind of slowly pour your curds in so that way your curds are captured in your cheesecloth in your colander, and then your whey goes into your bowl. And of course you can reserve your whey and use it for other things later, or if you have an abundance of whey or no use for it, you can give it to your chickens. They always find it a delightful treat. I've even fermented my grains in it sometimes. So all you're going to do is pull up your sides here, and you're going to allow it to drain for about 20 minutes. Now, again, hold on to your whey a little bit because if it comes out a little dry, you can always stir back in a little whey to make it moist. But this is the point where you would take it once it drains completely and you would stir in fresh herbs, or you could compact it down into a wheel. I left mine loose and fluffed because I'm going to stir it into my lasagna. So then I transitioned to making the Hawaiian rolls. And this has to go through a double rise, which again, as warm as my kitchen was, it really didn't take long for those to set up. But you just start with warm milk, sugar, and yeast. And then you're just going to kind of let that bubble up. And then when it bubbles up, then you'll start to stir in the rest of your items. And I'll put the full recipe below for you guys because I know how hard it is to kind of watch a video and try to write the recipe down. And nothing frustrates me more than watching something and not getting the recipe. I understand why people do it, but it still frustrates me. So your ultimate goal with this dough, you can use up to 5 cups of flour when you stir it in. But you're trying to get a consistency of where it's tacky, but it's not really sticking to you. But don't fret when you get to the end of your second rise. If it's still a little sticky, you can take some dough, you can take some flour and you can just kind of, add it to your dough to kind of knock down some of that tackiness so you can roll the little balls out that you need to make your rolls. So while we're waiting for this to come together, I did want to just take a moment and thank all the new subscribers. I really do appreciate it. I've enjoyed all the conversations that I have seen down in the chat. And while I can't necessarily respond to them all, I do like to try to take a moment to at least let you know that I do see them by making a heart out there for you guys. But I've gotten some really good feedback. Seems like you guys really enjoyed the canning episodes and all of that. We do a little hodgepodge of everything around here. We make soaps, we make candles, we make deodorants. And this channel kind of started as a spin-off of my soap business because everybody had purchased my soaps for so long, they wanted to kind of see how I did them. But of course, if you homestead, you know that it's not just one thing that you do. You kind of have your hands in multiple different things. So you're either cooking from scratch, or you're taking care of your animals, or you're making all your products as much as you possibly can, right? And you start out little bit by little bit with it. Because I remember when we first started homesteading, of course, chickens, right? They were the gateway drug. And then from there, we moved to the larger animals, and then soap came next. And it was funny because when we moved to the Ozarks, the soap was the only thing I brought with me because we couldn't bring all of our animals because it was just too far for them. And logistically, with the temperature changes, it just did not make sense to move them from a Pennsylvania climate, which is the same reason why we didn't take them from North Carolina to Pennsylvania. So we just kind of started over here, but the soap was the only thing I brought with me. And from that soap, right, it kind of blossomed out to soap, to deodorants, to salves, to tinctures, like all those types of things. And then, of course, the animals kind of grew along with it. So we have a hodgepodge of things around here. So the channel is never going to be specifically cooking or specifically soap or specifically anything. It's just kind of be a hodgepodge of like all the different things that you could possibly be doing if you're trying to homestead and do as much as you can from scratch. And like I said, like we're all busy, right? Like everybody's busy, but my busy is different than your busy. And so we just try to show each other ways that we can all kind of do different things. So as we go through different seasons in our lives, then we can all kind of incorporate new things. Like my beautiful friend Rachel, who, bless her heart, is so surrounded with children right now. There's just no way she could do the things that I'm doing, because I remember when I was heavy in young child years, I didn't have time to sleep, much less learn some new talents. So there's going to come a point, and this is why it's important for us women and even men to surround yourself with a strong community of like-minded people. Because while I'm in the season of where I can do a lot of this stuff, like make soaps and salves and tinctures, I can provide them to her family while she's in her season. And then by the time she gets to the season of where she's doing those things, then I'll probably be in the season of where I'm doing different things, right? And so as a community, we all take care of each other. And so that's why I think I love the homestead community the most, is because we really do all strive to take care of each other. So now we're just going to kind of bring this all together, putting our lasagna soup. And this, again, I'll put the full recipe below. This one's super easy. I think I throw this one together in about 20 minutes. And this is another one that you could can and just leave your noodles out if you wanted to. I mean, you could also leave your ground beef out if you wanted to, but then you're just pretty much canning tomato sauce. But I used my... I just browned my meat. Now, if you wanted to use an Italian chicken sausage, or turkey sausage, or whatever sausage in this, you could do that too. But for this one today, I just did the ground beef. And so I'm just going to kind of put my seasonings in while I'm browning the meat. And then from there, you stir in, and I used beef broth on this one. And then my homemade canned tomato sauce. Now, of course, if you don't have canned tomato sauce, you can use just about any sauce that you personally like. And that kind of gives it that lasagna taste. And you're just going to kind of stir this all around until everything's fully browned. And like I said, then from there, you'll start to add your liquids in. Now, if you watched the dough making stuff and you wanted to, you could also, at this point, to make your own lasagna noodles and put them on the shelf and, dry them, right? You've made them previously and you've dried them. Well, you could use them in this. Now, if you don't have lasagna noodles, you can use elbow noodles, right? While it's called lasagna soup, you can put any noodle in it you want. So again, if you make your own noodles from scratch, you could throw those in, or you can use, a nice organic one off the shelf. Whatever you normally use goes in this just nicely. Because like I said, it sets up pretty easy. I think start to finish on this was less than about 20 minutes. because you do have to wait for your noodles to cook. Now, I did use the organic lasagna noodles from Azure in this one. So you'll see me just kind of cracking those up and throwing those in because I didn't have time. And finding my wheat drum to make my homemade like lasagna noodles has been kind of tricky price wise. And I'm not really happy with it. So I'm not really prepared to bite the bullet on it yet. So like I said, we're just gonna kind of let that simmer once we put our noodles in there. And once our noodles go in, I think it's about 12 minutes until it's done. But all of this kind of comes together nicely, I think. And it was quite nice on a really chilly spring day to have something warm and hearty with the soup and with the rolls, and then knowing that I'd made the cheese from scratch, so I kind of knew where that came from too. It all set it up for a nice evening to just kind of sit around and put our feet up and rest from a weary day. So this finished about the same time the rolls did, so I just kind of plated it up. And then there's my farmer's cheese going back into it. And then I had some fresh grated mozzarella that I put on it as well. And then from there, I just pulled my Hawaiian rolls out of the oven, which I think they turned out quite nicely. And then just put it all together and like I said, went and sat down from a weary day. I think that's the worst when you're ready for spring and winter comes back again. So I do appreciate you guys stopping by today. Thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you for all my returning subscribers, for all the comments and everything that you put below. I really am enjoying engaging with you guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. And like I said, all the recipes are below for you guys. And have a great day.